Have you ever had the feeling about something only to immediately question or doubt it? Was that intuition? Was it my imagination? Am I making this up? Was it my anxiety? Is it wishful thinking? Or was it just my own thoughts? One of the biggest difficulties in developing our intuition is not necessarily receiving the information. It's learning to recognize what you already are receiving without immediately talking yourself out of it and doubting yourself. In this video, I want to explore why intuition can feel difficult to trust and why developing our intuition may have less to do with trying harder and more to do with becoming clearer about how experience arises within you. So, intuition rarely arrives with a label on it. Intuition doesn't normally announce itself saying, "Hi, I'm intuition." It might arise as a feeling or an image or a physical sensation, a word, a memory, a sudden knowing, or even something so subtle that we barely notice it before the thinking mind becomes involved. And this is where the difficulty can begin. The intuitive impressions and our interpretation of the impressions can happen almost simultaneously. For instance, you might originally have an impression of a friend's name, just the name, say Sarah. Within that fraction of a second, the mind adds into the conversation, I wonder if she's okay. Maybe something's happened to her. Maybe I should call her. Am I sensing something? The original impression may have been very simple, and the story arrives afterwards. Many people assume that genuine intuition should feel unmistakable or really powerful or dramatic and absolutely certain. But much of intuitive perception is remarkably ordinary and can be extremely subtle, and we can miss it. It might be a fleeting thought or a physical shift, or it may be an image that appears and disappears quite quickly. It could be a change in the feeling or the atmosphere around us. And it could be just a momentary knowing. And because it feels ordinary, we miss it because we're expecting it to be very dramatic, and it just isn't sometimes. So something feeling very strong doesn't automatically make it intuitive, just like something feeling very subtle does not automatically make it your imagination. So our thinking mind is not the enemy. So don't think that the goal is to stop thinking. It's our mind's job to think. The thinking mind is incredibly useful, but the difficulty is that it's designed to analyze, compare, predict, remember, and make meaning of our reality. So when a subtle impression arises, thought naturally begins working with it. But what we're learning is not how to eliminate the thought, but how to notice the difference between the first impression and what we subsequently do with it. Intuitive information is not always experienced as a thought. Sometimes the body seems to register something first. You might notice a tightening in the solar plexus in your tummy, or a warmth through the chest, or tingling in your hands, a shift in breathing, pressure around your head area or your body, or simply a sense that something has just changed or shifted. And of course, our bodily sensations arise for countless ordinary reasons. So the presence of sensation does not automatically make that sensation an intuitive impression. The interesting question is simply, what did I notice before I decided what it meant, before my mind interpreted the sensation? We lose trust partly because we want certainty too quickly. We want solid evidence. We also tend to judge an impression before we've properly observed it. Past experiences can influence us. So can our fears, our desires, and our memories and our own life experiences. And sometimes we recognize intuition retrospectively when something happens later on and we think, oh, I knew that. So developing trust, therefore, doesn't mean believing every impression, every sensation that we have as being intuitive. It means becoming a better observer of your own experiences. And so here's something that you can do over the next couple of days. When you notice what you think to be an intuitive impression, don't immediately ask, is it true, or add a story. Ask three things. What did I notice first? Where did I notice it? And what meaning did I add afterwards? So we're not trying to prove anything. You're just simply beginning to separate sensation, impression, and interpretation, separating and becoming aware of those three elements. Trust in information doesn't come from forcing yourself to believe your impressions. It develops through familiarity. You begin to recognize how information tends to arise for you, the individual, and what your own thinking feels like, how emotion affects perception, and what happens when you remain curious instead of rushing towards certainty or grasping at the story behind the sensation or the impression. In other words, trust is not blind belief, it's informed recognition. And so this brings us to the question that almost everybody asks next. How do I know whether something is intuition or simply my own thoughts? That's exactly what I'll explore in the next video, because the distinction is often subtler than people expect. If this is something you're exploring in your own spiritual development, then subscribe and join me for our next conversation.